Barker. Here. Mr. Farley.
Here.
Mr. Brooms.
Here.
Dr. Houghton.
Here.
Mr. Ellis. Mr. Rich.
Here.
Mayor Goodwin.
Here.
So we'll start off the work session with boards and commissions. Do you have any questions? If not, just gonna go over a couple of things. You got your paper?
Yeah, I do have one question. To the extent that we have an opening within, for instance, community promotions, I believe there were 2 applicants for 3 spots. Will we potentially approve the 2 and then re-advertise for the 3rd?
You have to for a nonprofit. Need somebody from a nonprofit to apply.
Okay, and then similarly, Parks and Rec, I think, we
Yeah,
have 2
I
for 3.
was just getting ready to go over that.
Okay.
So, if you look down your list, the procedure will be, Mr. Pope will call out your name, and like for, TVPC, you have 3 people applying for general public, you're just giving your last name. And then 1 reapplying for culture, and 1 applying for lodging. So, basically, the 2, the hospitality and the, culture ones would be, nobody applied against them, so they'll go back in. For Parks and Recs, I'll just ask for a motion to accept as presented to you for those 2 names. If you flip over the page, the first 3, Construction and Fire Board of Adjustments, Utility Advisory Board, and Design Review Board. Since there's nobody running against the reapplying people, I'll just ask for a motion to accept as presented to you. And then we get down to Planning Commission, then we'll have to go back through the process of calling your name, and you give 2 names for the general public. Okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So the next 2 items on the work session agenda are pair resolution to award contracts.
Bring it up and do it. You call it now or you don't call it?
We'll call it.
In the meeting, you have to do it in the meeting.
All right, so there's two resolutions here to award 2 separate contracts for our stormwater and water main replacements. A month or so ago, we got around $9 million to do a series of water main replacements and stormwater improvements. $800 million was given out around the state, so we've been trying to get ahead of the competition, so to speak, by lining up these contracts ahead of time. So we've already awarded the work to these firms a couple of months ago by resolution, and these resolutions were to adopt the actual contracts. Procedurally, the state has asked to review the contracts and our procurement procedures to sign off on the contracts, the content of the contracts, and our procurement policies prior to us executing the contract. They told us we could award the resolutions to just not sign the contract, but the contracts themselves needed some extra review. So we're gonna ask that you guys postpone these resolutions tonight, and we'll bring them back to you in July. We submitted the contracts and the procurement packages to the COG today. COG will review them. If anything needs to be changed, we'll change it, and then we'll send it to the state. So we're asking that you guys postpone this until July. One thing to note is that when it comes back to you, resolution 3423, it's listed there as $655,100. It's actually $1,032,300. Paired with the water main replacement, that's gonna put us about $1.5 million in payments to these 2 contractors. All of that money is paid for through the grant. We got $500,000 from the state to help us pay part of our local match, but the short version is all of that money is gonna come from the grant awards themselves. So we're not actually paying out of pocket for these. And these would be contracts for private firms to design, engineer, permit, bid out, and manage the construction of their respective projects.
So you're talking about resolution 3323 and 3423?
Yes, sir. So does anyone have any questions about those? All right, moving on down to 3623. This resolution is being sponsored by Councilman Rich, and it's a follow-up on, I believe, last month, or maybe the end of 2 months ago. Representative Wetmore and Councilman Honeycutt, Councilperson Honeycutt, sent a letter to the DOT asking them to help Folly out by doing some road safety audits on our island. Basically, DOT officers service where they'll send a team of traffic engineers and traffic experts, come out and look at a specific corridor or stretch of road and make recommendations for safety improvements or other modifications as needed. This resolution would be just adding weight to that letter as a formal request from the governing body of Folly Beach for the DOT to come out and look at the roadways on Folly and help us out. DOT has been very firm in their ownership and management of the right-of-ways during the discussion about beach parking, paid parking and unpaid parking. So we're hoping they're gonna own up to their ownership of the right-of-ways and come help us out. And there are a few specific areas called out as examples. West Ashley from Center Street to the county park. As you guys know, we lost the one side, no parking, so now there's parking on both sides of the street down there. We've had numerous concerns from folks who live kind of at the end of West Ashley, noting the dangerous conditions made by people parking on both sides of the road. We've got Folly Road at Bowen's Island, Pease Island, and the Clam Farm. That reflects the recent request by citizens of Pease Island, the Clam Farm, and Bowen's Island for the city to study a possible left turn lane as you come off the beach. And then we've got East Ashley from Center Street to the county park. East Ashley is, where we had the most recent incident here, and it is basically a long straightaway from Center Street all the way down to the lighthouse. So those are called out as specific examples. It's including but not limited to those areas. So that we hope that this just helps us, really document and put some pressure on the DOT. We don't have the resources to do all the traffic engineering and traffic study that they need to make any changes. So we're saying, hey, please come out, meet us halfway, help us do the studies, help us find out what we need to do, and then we can go out and try to find funding and implement it.
Or even if you wanna own the roads, and tell us what to do with all the parking, and you just go ahead and fix it.
Any questions on that one? All right. And the last one is another traffic-related resolution. We bid out and hired a firm to work on our Arctic Avenue study, which is kind of a complete street study for Arctic Avenue. Just as a side note, we had our first stakeholder meeting last week. Eric, do you know that June 29th? On June 29th, we'll be holding a wider public meeting for folks to review proposed solutions and ideas for Arctic Avenue, sidewalks, bike paths, parking reconfiguration, all sorts of things they're coming up with. We'll have the notes from the first meeting up soon, but I encourage everyone who lives out here that has a feeling one way or the other about what they like to see Arctic Avenue look like coming to that public meeting. We'll be sure to advertise it on Facebook and on the webpage beforehand. But as part of that project, they did a walking audit of the entire street. And to get to Arctic, you have to go through the red light, coming down Ashley at least. And they said, hey, why don't we start back here? Why are we just considering Arctic? Let's acknowledge that that signalized intersection is part of the project area, part of the problem. So we're asking to amend the contract to let these guys do a traffic signal operation study and make some recommendations for things like changing the timing, changing the turn signals, changing the crosswalk buttons themselves. Just a wide array of things that they feel are low-hanging fruit that we could easily implement to improve the function of the traffic signal. We spend time and resources every year manning that light to make it flow more efficiently, and they believe that it's been so long since anyone looked at it from a traffic engineering standpoint that there are some easy fixes to kind of bring us up into 2023 and maybe change the way that intersection works. So that would be adding an additional $18,500 to their contract. We had $150,000 budgeted for the Arctic Avenue study. Their bid came in at $118,000, so this $18,000 would still put us under the original amount we budgeted.
Just a quick addition to the public meeting for Arctic Avenue Plan will be at 5 o'clock on the 29th.
We're gonna push that out as much as possible as we get up to it. We had a good turnout for our stakeholder meeting, but the more the merrier on important things like this. That's it. Well,
Anybody got anything? Hearing nothing. It'll be really early.
that'll give us more time for agenda then.
Yeah. So, since we're early, we can go ahead, if I get a motion to move to executive session.
So moved.
Second?
And this is to get some legal information on a settlement agreement between, AD Irrevocable Trust and the City of Folly Beach Board of Zoning Appeals. Housing at home at, well, live at 1567 East Axley Avenue. Okay.